Cycle Jerks.
Hey, get out of the road, dummy.
Cycle Jerks Podcast.
All right, welcome everybody to Cycle Jerks Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Stewart, and today we have ultra cyclist, let me try that again, Jessica Nankman joining us, who's also a Live Ambassador. Jessica, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Mike. It's a
Yeah.
pleasure and an honor to be here.
Oh, wow. All right. Man, I feel important now. Yeah, well, I first got introduced to Jessica through our marketing team, and I was looking for insights on Unbound and how to do it, and yeah, so we connected that way, and then I watched your video with you and your husband, and you guys do a lot of these ultra cycling events. That must be really special being able to do that together, huh?
Oh, it certainly is. I mean, it's an experience that then it makes memories. You know, both of us share the highs and the lows. We're there to support each other. We're there to help each other out. We're there to push each other through the bad parts. And I mean, Mike, it's sometimes we ride together, sometimes we do not. We opt to go our separate ways depending on what each of us wants out of that particular event, that particular day. But
Yeah.
in the end of it all, we're there together. We're doing the same thing. We see the same sights, the same experiences. And I mean, what better way to do a family vacation than, you know, why actually go on vacation and rest and relax when we can go ride our bikes for 24 or 36 hours instead?
Yeah.
What fun would that be in life if we just sat on the beach or laid in a hotel all day long?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I happen to enjoy laying on a beach too.
Okay, I do too. I
Yeah.
do have to admit that, but you still it's I think better memories to get out and about and do things.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, when you talk to normal people and you explain to them like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go race my bike for 24 hours,
Hmm.
they think you're a lunatic. And so how did you get started on this ultra cycling journey?
So one thing after the other, I'll say. You know, I actually had growing up, I had no background in sports whatsoever. I grew up on a farm. I rode horses. I was involved in no, we'll say, endurance or athletic aerobic events whatsoever. And you know, one day I just decided in life I needed to make a change. I needed to get healthier. And you know, it started as, oh, I'm just gonna run a minute. I'm gonna run 5 minutes. I'm gonna run 10 minutes. Fast forward years from there, and it's just one challenge after another. You know, it was, oh, 20 miles. I think I can go further than that. 50, I can go further than that. Oh, I can ride my bike overnight. That sounds really cool. Let me give that a try. And it was just pushing the limits, just seeing how far I could go. I enjoy it, the experiences. I will also admit I'm not a very fast rider. So XC cyclocross, not really my gig, but I learned very quickly I could pedal for a really, really, really long time and just pedal along. So the long endurance stuff just suits me better and it's what I enjoy.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting you bring that up because the I've been a cyclist most of my life. I started racing
Right.
BMX when I was 13, and that's like a sprinter sport.
Right.
You're on course for like a minute on the longer courses,
Hmm.
and so as a young person, I was definitely faster. I was
Right.
a
Mm-hmm.
fast person, so I could sprint and all that stuff, and I could still sprint, but it's like the older I get, it's like the longer, the harder the event, the better I do. If I go do a
Correct.
25-mile race, I don't have a shot. There's no
Hmm.
chance. And it's not like it's all about winning or anything. Like that's not the motivation, but it's just to give you an idea, like how it works for me. Like a 25-mile race, I don't have a chance. But if it's a 200-mile race, well, all
Hmm.
of a sudden it looks a little bit more promising. And I actually like the idea of going longer and, oh, more elevation. I'm into it. Whereas a lot of times, I think a lot of it's, I mean, it's so mental.
Hmm.
there's the physical side of it and then there's the mental side of it. And
Yes.
if you're talking
Mhm.
yourself like, oh man, another climb. Oh gee, if that's your inner dialogue, yeah, you're in
Mhm.
trouble.
And
So yeah. But
and I think you bring up a very good point there. You're right. Number one, age. As I've gotten older, I've realized yeah, the short stuff. I always joke if I go to a shorter race, like an XC race or something, and I joke around on the start line and I tell the other women, I don't have an anaerobic threshold because my heart rate doesn't go that high. I only have aerobic capacity and that's it. I'm like, I'm old now. There's no anaerobic, there's no lactate threshold in my life anymore. It's just how long can I pedal and how consistent can I keep it? So you're right, age and like you said, the mental aspect of it. To me, and I'm sure you can agree, like you just mentioned, the longer events, it's more mental than it is anything else. Yes, you need to be strong physically. You need to have that aerobic and that strength behind you. But really, when it comes down to it, it's how hard can you push during those really challenging times? How hard can you push when things really get really, really, really get tough? How there's those really deep, dark spots, and can you pull yourself out of them and continue to keep going?
yeah. Yeah. Well, I love what you said about it being gradual because I don't think anybody really starts off with this idea of I'm going to be an ultra athlete.
Uh-huh.
It's more like, you get these little wins along the way. Like for you, it was running in these short time frames, and then,
Right.
oh, I can do that. Oh, can I do this?
Mm-hmm.
And then each one is like a little win, and it's amazing how that really fuels you. And it really is it's a personal journey. Yeah, it's hard for others to understand, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I
And I
find the
think you're
more I
right.
do, the more I want to do.
Yes, I
Yeah,
agree. You're right. The more I do, the more I want to do it. The more challenges I want to find for myself. The more I want to be out there and watch the sunset and the sunrise and see the Milky Way and the stars and be like, wow, I'm really crazy for being out here and riding my bike for this long in these conditions. But you know what? There's nowhere else I would want to be and nowhere else that brings me better joy than seeing those things. And I think you can uh, understand this also. If we weren't out there doing those stupid crazy things, we wouldn't get to experience this. We wouldn't get those experiences in life. you know you wouldn't get to hear the coyotes or see the animals or see the shooting stars. Everybody else is asleep or I don't know in the movie theater. We're out there doing these crazy things, getting these experiences that you just can't get if you're not doing that sort of event.
yeah, yeah. It's living an adventurous life,
Mm-hmm.
as opposed to the rat race or whatever else. I
Right,
mean, I think
right.
it's possible to do both, but most
Exactly.
people don't. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it is interesting, like talking to somebody about the night sky and the
Right.
Milky Way and whatnot. It's like, yeah, oh yeah, well, I've seen the Milky Way. It's like, no, no, no. You have to understand, there's no ambient light anywhere. It is just
Uh-huh.
black. And then you
Right.
look up and it's like, I've always wondered, like, how much different would life be if if there was no ambient light and we
Oh,
just looked at the stars every
mhm,
single night? It's like, I wonder what that would do to our perspective about life on Earth? Because it does make
mhm,
you think about the cosmos and what are we doing here and it's a lot different when it's just you and the night sky and
mhm.
all the magnificent stars and the moon and
Right. You
yeah,
you just realize how much is really out there and how vast everything is. And you're right, especially when there's no ambient light, you're all by yourself. It's just you and the bike and nature around you. And it's just one of those moments where you're like, wow, this is awesome. This is amazing. This is the way, like you said, wonder what it would be like. This is the way life should be at times, just awe-inspiring and just peaceful and serene and beautiful.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I've tried to rally my family a couple times to like just we have this local park where it's pretty out there,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like 20 minutes from town. But when you go out there, it's pitch black, And I've been
Right.
trying to get them to like, hey, let's go out there at night and let's just, take the lawn chairs and we're just going to sit out and look at the stars, and
Right.
so far it hasn't
Mhm.
happened, but I'm hopeful.
No.
They're like, I
all,
don't know, Dad.
all you can do is keep trying, right? Just
That's
keep
right.
making that offer.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So what I say,
Well,
all you can do is just offer, educate, and communicate. And if it happens, it happens. And if not, at least you tried.
yeah. Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
okay. So I was asking about the ultra journey for you. How long
Yes.
have you been
Mhm.
cycling? So you said you weren't an athlete as a young
Correct.
person. Yeah.
So I have been, so let's say first I will say I've been doing, we'll say in a committed institution per se or committed time. I've been now doing sport for about 20 years. I started when I was in undergrad. Like I said, that's when I kind of made the change in my life to realize like, I need to do something better with my life here. Then we'll be honest, undergrad, you drink a lot of beer, you eat a lot of pizza. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. We've all been there. Okay, this is not the right way to live my life. I need to change. But as I alluded to earlier, I started as a runner, got into just your typical 5Ks, 10Ks. That after a few years transpired into triathlon. And I worked my way up there, sprint Olympic. I did a couple Ironman distance races and then realized the bike is really, really what I enjoy and really where I want to be and where I want to focus. And that transition happened maybe I'm going to say 15-ish years ago or so that I pretty much said, okay, I'm going to focus my time and energy on cycling rather than triathlon or anything else. I still do a little running here and there as cross training, especially in the wintertime. Pennsylvania winters are not good for riding outside on a regular basis. So becomes trail running, hiking, and such. And running's good to spend time with the dog also. So cross training purposes. But cycling, consistent cycling has been maybe about 15 years now. And I started, like I said, triathlon, did a little bit of road, then realized mountain biking and gravel is really, really where I want to be. And that's where I am now.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, do you train? Do you use a trainer in the winter, like
I
Zwift?
do, yes. Not Swift. I will admit, I am very old school. I have the typical, just good old fashioned home trainer set up in front of a TV in the dark, dingy basement. And it's like binge on Netflix, and that is it. Yeah,
Okay.
I keep it kind of simple. The cat and the dog come down, have some little visits every now and then, talk to them, and then just keep pedaling. Hmm.
Okay. Yeah. I use Swift quite a bit actually,
Right.
even though I'm in
Mhm.
California, because uh yeah, it's the weather. I mean, it sounds silly. You're in Pennsylvania, but sometimes, you know,
Okay, it does sound silly, I'll admit, because
yeah.
I'm having mental images of California weather here. Hmm.
But in the winter, in the mornings, I ride really early. So I get up, I'm
Right.
a morning person. So 5 a.m.,
Hmm.
I'm on the,
Yep.
and,
Yeah.
sometimes it's in like the mid 20s.
Right. Oh,
And
okay. Yeah.
so, and then you go out, and a lot of times there's rain. And so I've had some
Hmm.
just really, I don't feel like I really get good efforts in when it's that cold.
Yes.
It's more like I'm just out there surviving. I'm just putting in base, and
Right.
it's not
Hmm.
anything really performance oriented. And then
Yes.
it's also
Mhm.
can be quite dangerous. I've had a couple of near misses in the rain, and
Right.
California drivers are terrible in the rain. So
Okay.
they don't get a ton of it, and they're not good at it. And yeah, so I don't know. I started using the trainer after this one incident, and then realized like, oh, I can't stand riding on a trainer. And then I got the Zwift, and it's pretty
Right.
wild. Have you ever done it?
I no, see, I haven't even experienced
Oh,
it.
oh,
Uh-huh. I mean, granted, I hear people talk about it all the time, that and I mean, I know some people that they don't even ever ride outside, will say they only do Swift and that's it because of all the reasons you're saying.
yeah.
But now I haven't jumped on that bandwagon. Like I said, I'm a little old school when it comes to things like that.
I love it. I love it.
Mhm.
I ruined the trainer like when I was young. I worked at a bike shop, and we won winter. we just rode trainers all winter, and
Right.
we had a coach, and we had like this very
Oh,
regimented thing, and there were three of us that would get in there, and we would just, and it went all winter, and then but when summer came, it was like, yeah, I don't even really feel like riding anymore.
oh, yeah. 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 Overtrained in the wintertime, staying
Ruined it
inside,
for me.
right?
Yeah.
I know.
I was
Well, just as
young
the
too, you know. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
As the weather gets beautiful, most people are like, yeah, I can get off the home trainer and get outside. You were like, nah, don't want to do it. Hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, the thing about Zwift is they have like all these motivators. They're
Right.
just
Mm-hmm.
one motivator after another, and you can get on there. I can't tell you how many times I've gotten on there and just going, okay, I'm just going to go easy. I'm just going to
Right.
just need like a zone two, like an hour. I'm
Right.
going to sit and
Yeah.
spin, and then there's like all these different these short segments, and before the segment it'll say KOM uh 27 seconds. And it's
Right.
like, oh,
Yeah.
I can go for 27 seconds, you know? And then next thing you know, you're just like, as many watts as you can generate for 30
Right.
seconds,
Right.
And then
Uh-huh.
and it's like, okay, well, why did I do that? Just calm down. You're supposed to be zone tuning it today.
Right.
And even though it's only 30 seconds, but then there might be eight or 10 of those throughout the course of your
Okay.
hour ride. And pretty
Yeah.
soon you're just nailing every single one of them. I don't know. I'm weak. I'm weak mentally.
But see, and I guess that's also one of the reasons I don't want to jump on that
Uh-huh.
bandwagon per
Right.
se, because I am just how you're explaining. I am the type where I have my workout, and you're right. Okay, easy recovery workout today. That's what we're doing. We're just going to sit on the home trainer. We're just going to watch our Netflix movie and do our prescribed written workout.
Hmm.
Yeah, you throw some of those things in front of me, and you're right. I'm going to push way too hard, harder than I should.
Yep.
And then I'm going to say to myself, okay, well, now, self, did you overdo it and ruin things for the rest of the week? So maybe that's why I don't want to quite jump on that bandwagon yet,
Hmm.
because I'm not good at following instructions if given a challenge in front of me or given a race scenario in front of me.
Yep.
So part of it might just be it's better if I just stick to myself and keep myself under control, we'll say.
Right. Yeah. We had I've had the author Matt Fitzgerald on the podcast a couple times, and
Mm-hmm.
he's written over 30 books on endurance
Yeah.
training, and he talks about how literally all of the top athletes do the 80-20, right? Where it's,
Right. Yeah.
20% uh, is hard effort and 80% is chill. He says,
Right.
and most of the non-elite do opposite or
Uh-huh.
somewhere in
Hmm.
between. And he says, like, the
Right.
tendency is, you can just get in this rut of just working harder all the
Right.
time, and then you're just not able to pull it up when you need it because you're just
Right.
too spent. And that's me. That's totally me. I'm
Hmm.
not disciplined in that way at all. How do you find yourself managing it
Do
properly?
pretty well.
Hmm.
Yeah. And, I think it's just like I alluded to. Part of it is I admit I'm a bit of a solo rider for and really for that reason. I found that in the past, if I did a lot of group rides or rode with a lot of people, you're right. Then I'd fall into the trap of saying, oh, I got to be the first one to the top of the climb, or oh, I need to be the first one, down this to make this segment, which then I'd fall into that trap of easy days were never easy days.
Right.
Hard days were different than what they were supposed to. So I have a pretty good system of on my own, or, as you mentioned earlier, my husband and I do a lot of riding together, but we kind of decide in the beginning, what is the purpose of this ride? What are we doing? So I can be pretty good. And, also, as we talked about a little bit earlier, age becoming a factor. I've just realized there are days that you have to take it easy. You can't push hard. The days of being able to go out and sprint on a ride every day are gone as
Hmm.
you get a little bit older. And just life, working a full-time job, having other commitments, it's the same thing. There's days when I just wake up and I'm like, today's just going to be an easy day. It's just going to be a pedal, get some base miles. So I think I myself have been pretty good at it on my own, but also just a lot of the outside influences in my life have kind of dictated those changes also. So I
Okay.
do the 80-20 pretty darn well, I think I would say.
Yeah. Well, that's good. I have a writing buddy of mine that he's always just giving me a hard time about it, you know. It's just,
Uh-huh.
you gotta settle down. When are you gonna get sick? But it's like, to me, it's like there's two, like I'm not focused on any like objective of winning anything, or
Right.
I want to get the
Mhm.
most enjoyment out of cycling. And I'm a climber, so I love climbing, and
Right.
I do a lot more climbing than most people. And certainly Matt Fitzgerald he would just have a field day with me. But
Uh-huh.
I've at this stage of life, I'm just doing it because I love it and I want to spend time
Right.
doing the thing I love the most. And, it also helps keep me in good shape.
Right.
But the legs are always sore,
Hmm.
when things are good health wise and I'm riding the way I want to, my quads
Hmm.
are always sore.
Right.
And it's weird. Like I kind of like, sometimes I get out of my car and like this, it's like, ooh, but
Yes,
I like
I
that
do too. Uh-huh. And you
because
bring up a
you're
good
working.
point. Yes, talk about the legs are always sore. I always feel the sign of a good workout. So I, like you, work out in the mornings before I go to work. So I'll do my ride or I'll do my workout, come home, get ready to work, sit in my car, take my drive, my commute. And I always feel that the sign of a good ride or a good workout is when I get out of my car at work and take that first step across the parking lot. And my whole body goes, oh, wow, you really stiffened up during your car ride. And I kind of meander my way through the front door. You're right. That is a good sign of a top quality workout when I have to kind of mosey, sore and achy across the parking lot into the building.
Well,
Mm-hmm.
there's something to that, like the satisfaction of knowing it's all done. You did your
Mm-hmm.
thing, and now
Yep.
you've already got it all done. And most people,
Right.
they're just getting to work and getting their coffee and getting going, and you're already done with the
Uh-huh.
hard part of the day, and now you just have work.
Exactly. And then it doesn't matter what happens at work,
Yeah.
even if the day changes or things don't end up as planned or you have to stay late. There's just that wonderful feeling of being able to take a deep breath and say, it doesn't really matter because I already got my workout in. My day is complete. My happiness cup has already been filled the first thing in the morning before I got to work.
Yeah.
So now whatever happens, happens. It can be whatever the world wants to throw at me. Doesn't matter because I had my time on the bike. I was in nature. I got a good workout in. I'm ready. Let's just bring it on.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. It's like a level of contentment, I think, that a lot of people
Mhm.
don't get to. And
Right.
yeah, and to your point, like whatever happens at work during the day, it's just less dramatic, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know, it just puts your mind in a different place.
Right.
I can just
Yeah,
deal with, oh, we're doing this now? Okay. All right. That's what we're going to go do?
exactly.
The curveball's
Hmm.
not that big a deal.
Yep, it is. Like you said, because your day is already complete at that point in time. There's no stress of having to get out to get a ride in or having to get out. Oh, I still got to hit the gym after work. You don't. It's all done. And that to me is the important part of the day. That's the thing that like I said brings me the most enjoyment, the most happiness. Once it's done, my day is good.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
okay. So, like I said at the beginning, I got introduced to you from our marketing team,
Mhm.
and because I was looking for insights for Unbound, and I was hoping that
Right.
when we first started talking that maybe we'd get to meet at Unbound, but then I found out that you had something else scheduled. You'd already
Correct.
done your
Hmm.
fill of Unbound, and so you went down to Texas for
Correct.
24 hours in the canyon. And
Yes.
I just read
Hmm.
the whole blog about it. Sounds like a great event.
Oh, it was. And I'm going to say, first off, my time in Unbound, we'll say there might have been some family discussion about signing up for the XL again. So, as much as both my husband and I feel we are content at the same point in time, we're kind of like, maybe. So I'm not making any promises, but there might be a reappearance again in the future. But
Okay.
But to recircle back, yes. So 24 hours in the canyon, 24-hour mount. It's actually, I should say, 24-hour mountain bike race and a 24-hour road race. So it is the only event in the country that has the simultaneous solo and team 24-hour mountain and 24-hour road. And I'm a mountain biker by heart, so that's my thing. My husband is a roadie by heart, so it just was a great event that really piqued our interest in the beginning, because then both of us could do what we really, really wanted to do. So he did the road version, I did the mountain bike version, but just an amazing event. I mean, talk about an event that's for a good cause. It supports cancer research and support of cancer survivors. Beautiful location, well-run event, just beautiful scenery. It was everything an event should be, from great people, great riding, great organization, good support, good cause. It checked all of its boxes.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really neat idea to have a road and a mountain
Mhm.
event simultaneously,
Right.
for a couple reasons, right? But I mean, I imagine like you're not at your situation probably is not super unique, right? So,
Right.
that exists out
Mhm.
there, and so uh, that's going to encourage more couples to do an event like that. Did you meet any
Correct.
couples that were uh,
Actually, no. That's a good
really?
point. You bring that up. I think we were the only couple. Now, that being said, I know there were some groups of friends who were there together where, one person would opt to do mountain, or one group of team would opt to do mountain, one would opt to do road. But yeah, I think I did not meet. No, I can say, I'm not gonna say with 100% certainty, but pretty good certainty there were not a lot of couples there. And even you would expect, Mike, that in the endurance community in general, at least for 24 hours events, you would expect there'd be a lot of couples that do it.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, there actually aren't. It's far and few between that my husband and I will meet couples who are doing both the 24-hour events. We'll go to a lot of races where maybe one person will be doing the 100 miler and one person will be doing the 25 miler or something. A lot of people who ride, but not many couples out there that both do the super, super long endurance stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know what the rhyme or reason is to something like that. It's I don't know. I don't have a good answer as to why, but a lot of couples who ride, and we know a lot and we've met a lot over the years, but not many who both do the super, super crazy long stuff.
Right.
And
Makes
maybe
two
that's
super
why, that
people.
right there, super crazy long, I think those are the words that describe why many people don't, because
Right.
you have to have two super crazy people in a relationship to be able to do those sorts of things.
Yeah.
And I think I'm going to throw another kind of kink as to why out there. I mean, I think a lot of people, especially in the 24-hour format where you're doing lap events, have support crews. They
Right.
have people there to get their food ready, to get their bottles ready, to get their supplies, set their pit up. If you have a husband and wife team who both do it, who's your pit crew? You don't have one. You're solo. You're dependent upon yourselves.
Right.
So I think that adds a big kink in it, because we're showing up at all these long events and getting ready for all these races and doing all these travels solo, just the two of us. And in other instances, I think sometimes you can get couples who one person will help the other or support the other, but nope, we're there doing it all on our own. So that could be a factor also as to why people don't, because it does make it really challenging to have two people racing. I mean, there's nothing, we'll say nothing more tiresome than getting to the end of a 24-hour race. You figure by then both of us have been awake for 30 plus hours. We're everything you could imagine. You've been there, you're tired, you're exhausted, you're dehydrated, you're sore, you're achy, you've got, ooh, we got weird. Oh, sorry about that. I think that was your, on my phone. Yeah, sorry, we had a phone interfering. But you
Oh,
get to the end and you just want to eat and sleep, and that's it. But here we are having to break our pit down, pack all of our stuff up, clean our bikes. It's really, really tough to do it together, really challenging to do it
Yeah,
together. So I wonder if that's part of it also.
I
I
can
don't know,
see
just
it.
throwing it out there.
Yeah, you
Mm-hmm.
do see a lot of couples where, the the spouse is just totally in support of the athlete,
Right.
and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so I could see that probably has a lot to do with it.
Right.
But to your point, just having to, um, you know, I've been doing it a long time. My wife's not really into cycling at all.
Okay.
So,
I was going to ask as we're talking about this. So, how
yeah.
about your family? Are they behind the scenes supporters or?
I mean, yes, totally
Yes.
supportive of me and my
Good.
the time it takes and all
Hmm.
the nuttiness with the food and the drink and all the stuff. But
Right.
but at the actual events, I'm usually there by myself. But
Right.
and
Uh
that's
huh.
it's fine. I've gotten used to it.
Right.
There
Exactly.
are
Uh
times
huh.
though, I'm not gonna lie, there are times where like you cross the line and you see someone over there, embracing their,
Oh.
it's
Uh
like,
huh.
oh, I could use a hug right now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I need a
Find a
hug.
random stranger and just be like, somebody give me a hug. I need
Yeah,
one, please. Uh
yeah,
huh.
yeah. But at the same time, I don't know that I'd want to do that to my wife, just be like, hey,
Right.
I want you to
Oh,
stay awake or just be at my beck and call for 30 hours,
right.
unless she was really called to that and she wanted to do it, I don't
Mhm.
want to
Yeah.
ask that of her, so.
No, I agree with you. I have to say sometimes I do feel for the spouses who are there at these events just sitting around and waiting or driving the course all day and all night supporting their significant others. Yes, if they really want to do that and that's their thing, go for it. But yet I also really really feel for them because it's a big chunk of time and a big commitment and I could see that I would not ask that upon someone unless they said, "This is what I want to do."
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, okay. So one of the big hurdles with couples that ride is fitness levels, and
Mhm.
so
Oh.
when you go out with
Mhm.
your husband and you say like you
Uh-huh.
can set up like the objective for today's ride is this, and
Right.
then you
Mhm.
do that. But just in general, I find that like the single cyclist that wants somebody to ride with a spouse or a girlfriend
Right.
or something
Uh-huh.
to ride with, and then a lot of times once they get that situation, then it's
Mhm.
like, oh, now I have to go really slow, or I'm getting dropped on
Mhm.
all the climbs by my spouse, and that sucks, and I don't really like riding
Yes.
with them. So how do you
Uh-huh.
manage all that?
That is a good question because you are correct. There are a lot of people who ask that or fall into that category where, yeah, one person's significantly faster or slower. So, first off, luckily, both of us are pretty well matched, or at least I should say, on road and gravel, my husband's significantly faster than I am. Mountain biking, we're pretty even keel when it comes to speed. So, we can pick and choose where we want to ride or what ride we want to do based on, okay, knowing our speeds. And then it becomes a matter of, we'll do our base training together. So it doesn't matter what the speed is. We're just going out to enjoy the day. Those are the days when we just call them the like picture taking casual ride days. And we'll just go out and cruise around and stop and take pictures and do things. Or, maybe if we decide we're going to do a hard workout one day, we can do hill repeats where it doesn't matter if we're together. The objective is, okay, we're both going to do this X amount of times we'll meet back here in an hour and that's it. So we find ways to work around it. And then there will be days when we'll go out for a ride and we'll get started and then we'll say to each other, you know what? It's just not going to happen today. I'm not feeling it. You're not feeling it. You're feeling fast. I'm feeling slow, other way around. And then we just decide today's a day when we're just gonna go on our own. And we don't ride together. We don't opt to ride together every day. It's once or twice a week are our together rides, and then the other days of the week are our separate rides because those are the days for each trying to get something different out of it. So we have learned it's taken a long time of riding together to figure out how to make it work and how to stay happy. But I think that's the thing. You just have to figure out what each person wants and what they expect and communicate very, very well also. If a day is turning out different than what you expect, you just got to say something right from the beginning and figure it out from there, because you're right. If not, then hey, everybody who's married knows that even the best intentions sometimes turn terrible. So you got to communicate in the beginning before it becomes a little tizzy on the trail, we'll say.
Right. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple that owned a shop here in the Sacramento area, and they seemed to manage it really well. They were both
Mm-hmm.
very competitive racers in their own right, but they were also
Right.
different speeds,
Mm-hmm.
different skill sets. So it just, but they managed to balance
Right.
everything right. And
Yeah.
but to this point, have you ever seen, as a Lim ambassador,
Mm-hmm.
sure you're
Yeah.
familiar with Lindsay Richter,
Yes.
the
Mm-hmm.
Live Ladies All Ride. Have you ever seen her
Mm-hmm.
video? I think it's called Big Balls. Have you ever seen this?
Okay. I don't know if I have,
Oh,
or I maybe have and just don't know the name of it.
it's
Uh
such
huh.
a silly thing. So she's mountain biking with her man, and
Uh
then
huh.
she's like, "You ever been mountain biking with your man?" And then some of his shredder buddies show up, and then they're
Uh
just like, "Later, honey," and and then they take
huh.
off, and she's like, if it's just because they got such big balls, they want to go down all this stuff. These big balls. I just wish I had some big balls. And so she made like, on the trucks. They have,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh huh.
yeah, she hung those off her seat. Have you seen this?
I have not, but I'll have to. Uh huh.
It's hilarious. Anyway, so she gets these big balls, she hangs them off her seat. But one of the things that they didn't expect was when the suspension bottoms out,
Oh.
the balls actually touch the tire. So
Oh, great. Uh huh.
this person in the video, her ball, this sounds terrible, but her balls
I know
get
this
sucked
is
into
great.
the frame. And then she goes flipping over the bar. She ended
Oh
up breaking
gosh.
both of her wrists in the
Oh
video.
no.
Oh
Uh
yeah,
huh.
it went tragic. Yeah,
Oh gosh.
it
All
was.
in the name of just
Oh,
satire about something that's a true fact, right?
yes,
Uh
yeah, but
huh.
it's a fun one.
Right.
She made it a long time ago. So
Hmm.
but yes, I always think of that because there are like with my wife, we spent a good deal of time trying to get her into mountain biking, and
Right.
yeah, she just wasn't cut out for it. And
Hmm.
sometimes she'd get mad. I just felt like I was doing everything right, trying to be as,
Right. Right. Uh huh.
uh, and still she'd get angry. She's like, why am I even here? This is dangerous. And,
Right. Right. Uh huh.
okay, I'm sorry,
Uh,
I was,
and I think a lot of it comes down to it's also husband and wife in those situations,
hmm.
because
Yes, yes.
I found that when I started to learn to mountain bike, it was my husband and I who primarily rode. And you're right, we would get to a technical section and he would try and explain something to me, and just like your wife, you made the allusion to,
Yeah.
there were definitely some little on the trail. And then we'd go out with the group that we ride with, primarily a group of men, and they would describe it to me in, let's be honest, probably the same way or similar. And I'd be like, oh, now I understand. See, it was just you who wasn't explaining it properly. The other guys told it to me. So I think it's just husbands and wives. We just
Uh-huh.
naturally beat heads, we naturally get a little short with each other. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's definitely a challenge to try and figure it out. And I think all couples will, if they want to make it happen, they will. They just need to find a way to make it happen.
Right. I can imagine your husband sitting there going, I wonder where she might have heard this before.
Exactly
Yeah.
right. I
Now
know.
now it's sinking
Uh-huh.
in and working. Yeah, it's definitely a couple dynamic.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm.
My gosh. Yeah. I think I don't know. I'm okay with it. With her not being involved.
Right.
Like I said, she does support it. She understands that it makes me like way better as a person. Like
Right. Mm-hmm.
she can. she could sit on a chase and read a book on a Saturday, right?
Right.
In the backyard, perfectly content. I cannot sit on that same chase right next to her
Right.
and be content. I'm
Hmm.
looking at the hedges that need to be trimmed or the grass or like, oh, we should do this over here.
Uh-huh.
I just can't. But if I've gone on a good Saturday morning ride and I come
Right.
back, I'll jump in the pool and then I'll lay on that chase and we can sit side by side, just perfectly content. Uh,
Right.
yeah, but
Uh-huh.
otherwise I couldn't do it. I would just be up and,
Right.
making all kinds of
Hmm.
noise and working and probably in front of her, making her feel like, oh, now I need to work. You know what I mean? So it just
Right.
works
Right.
out.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. But, I mean, and I think though you bring up a good point. Anybody who's in cycling, especially at an ultra distance level, there's family involved, there's kids involved, there's spouses involved, there's friends. And it's always a matter of figuring out how do you incorporate all those things in life? How do you figure out how to go for your ride, spend time with family, trim the hedges, and
Yeah.
get it all done? And everybody, yes, there's going to be similarities in all of our lives, but yet there's going to be differences also about how we get it all done, what we do, what our support team is behind us. And it's just a matter of figuring it out. And like you said, having a significant other also who's very understanding in whatever way it may be.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, so I'm curious in a couple dynamic on these 24-hour events. Or an Unbound XL. Do you, because the one video I watched, Joel had tire issues and he
Yes.
flatted a
Mm-hmm.
bunch, he had to withdraw. And I just wonder, like, going into an event like that, are you thinking, is the plan that you're going to ride together and work this thing together? Or is it more
Mm-hmm.
like, hey, look, just go at your own pace and, I'll see you at the end type of thing?
Exactly.
What's the
It
mindset?
depends on the event. And, there are, and I guess I should say, depends on the event and depending on the dynamics of the event. Something like a 24-hour mountain bike race, that's we're each doing our own thing because it's a lap event. We're out there doing our own race. We have our own goals. Some of the longer gravel events, we will opt to ride those together, and simply because of safety reasons a lot of times. There's one that we've done in West Virginia quite a few times called Grusk, and it goes into the some really, really deep, deep places in the middle of West Virginia where I outwardly said, I'm not comfortable riding here by myself. There's no cell service, there's no people, there's nothing around. If something happens, you know, there's no one to help me. I'm in the middle of nowhere all by myself.
Yeah.
The same thing, we've done one that goes across the state of Pennsylvania called Crush the Commonwealth. And it's a 380-mile ride from one end of Pennsylvania to the other.
Wow.
And that one also is one where I have said, I feel uncomfortable by myself. It's you're in the middle of nowhere a lot of times, places where there's no cell service. So a lot of times it comes down to just the safety issues. I feel, and I hate to say this stereotypically, but being a woman, I feel a little unsafe in some of those places by myself.
Sure.
So it really comes down to number one, safety, and number two, our goals. If, as I alluded to earlier, Joel, especially with gravel, is typically a faster rider. So if he truly wants to race, then we go our separate ways. If he wants to just take his time, if both of us are out there more for just getting it done than truly, truly racing. And I'm going to say that for both of us, actually, Mike. That's really what it comes down to.
Mhm.
Number one, safety, and number two, what we want out of it. If we want to race, we're going our separate ways because we need to get into that mindset of we are on our own, we're doing our own thing. We have to be in our own world to be able to race hard. If it's a ride where we're just doing it, or an event where we're doing it just for the completion, then we'll ride together.
Right. Well,
Mhm.
I wonder what. how it impacts you mentally, like in that event, what the one you
Right.
watched, right? So he had to withdraw, and then
Correct.
I forget it was real. I mean, it wasn't super early, but was it about
Yeah.
midway
I,
or less
actually, I
than
think
that?
mile 80, mile 100, maybe it was
Okay,
about when all the tire issues happened.
right. And so,
Mhm.
what does that do to you mentally? Because it's like you're planning this. The vision
Yes.
was the two
Mhm.
of you crossing the finish line together, right? And
Correct. Yes. Uh-huh.
now it's
And
like,
that was, and you're right, that was definitely a very different experience because if we decide from the very beginning of the event that we're racing separately, you have already in your head, I'm on my own, I'm prepared to fix anything myself, I'm ready for anything myself, it's going to be me out there and only me out there. But
yep,
you're right, in that particular experience, and that was the first time I had ever done an ultra distance gravel event on my own. Before that, it had only been 24-hour mountain bike races. So the whole, I mean, even having to use my GPS to follow the route, that was the first time I've ever done anything like that. That was the
yeah,
first time I ever had to carry all my own supplies to fix a flat, per se. So that event was a first timer for a lot of things for me. So then all of a sudden having to starting it and saying, okay, we're going to be out there together. If really terrible things happen, we'll be together, we'll be able to help each other. And then all of a sudden realizing that, oh, I'm not going to have someone else, I'm gonna have to do this all on my own. Yeah, I mean, as you can see in the video, there was definitely a little bit of a meltdown when that happened, but then it was one of those moments, as we talked about, bad things happen and you just have to pick yourself up and figure it out. I just said, okay, this is it. I can do this. I can ride by myself. I can use my technology. I can fix a flat. I know how to take care of mechanicals. I can do all this on my own. And well, there I was then at the finish line later, mission complete.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. What
Yeah.
that must have been a great feeling, right?
Oh, yes.
It's
Mm-hmm.
like an extra hurdle to overcome. The event
Correct.
itself is
Yep.
already challenging as it is, and then you
Mm-hmm.
still were able to overcome in spite of the fact that Joel wasn't able to be there with you. Yeah,
Exactly. And I think that then gave me a lot of confidence moving forward for other ultra distance events to say, huh, you know what? I've been, as you can, been there, done that. I made it through the hurdle. I accomplished it. I feel confident. I feel comfortable. I can definitely go out there and do this.
yeah, yeah. You
Mm-hmm.
bring up a good point about safety. There's a lot of times where, you're out there, maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's you by yourself. Maybe you're in there could be hundreds of racers, but you're in a patch where you're
Right.
all by yourself for,
Uh-huh.
maybe an hour. You're riding
Right.
solo and
Exactly.
in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong there. There was a point at Unbound where it's like 3:30 in the morning and we're there's like maybe four of us, maybe six of us. I don't remember exactly, but I see this headlight up ahead coming at us, and it's like,
Right.
what is going on here? And then as it gets closer, it's clearly somebody on a motorcycle or something. They're on a quad runner, and
Right.
they go past us, and they're like, woohoo, as they go by us, And I was like, huh. And the person turns around and then rides alongside of us, and he's got like an ice chest on the back of his quad runner, and
Right.
he's just like, ah, just like crazy. And he's like, you guys are killing it. You guys want a Coke? And I was just like, what on earth?
What are you? Exactly. That's the thing.
Am I having hallucinations right now?
You never know. So there was, and you talk about the weird people. There was a one event Joelle and I did, and this was one where I said I do not feel comfortable riding by myself. Like I would like to do this as a team. Where we were going through this teeny, tiny little town at probably same thing, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, and we're trying to find somewhere to find some water, to fill our water bottles, a fountain, a spigot, anything. And up ahead is a man in his tidy whities, and that's it, only tidy whities, just walking down the side of the road.
Okay.
And we had to pass by him and then turn around and pass by him again as we were searching for a spigot.
Oh,
And, the same thing, I was like, did I see what I think I just saw? And, he just kind of waved, said hello, kept on going like it's a normal occurrence.
uh,
But you never know what you're going to see out there, right? Uh-huh.
yeah,
Yeah. And that was one of those moments where I was like, I'm kind of glad I'm here with someone because I don't know how I would feel by myself at that particular time in that particular moment. And we decided to not stop for water in that particular town. We decided to keep riding because
right.
after we saw
Keep it
that,
moving.
keep it, that was one where we were like, keep it moving. Exactly. Yeah, so you never know who you're going to see out there, right?
That's right. That's right. Oh my gosh. Well,
uh,
yeah. I mean, I always think, I don't GoPro. I know you make the videos, and you, that's an extra level of um, commitment that I
right.
haven't up to this point. I haven't been able
hmm
to do, or the
yeah,
editing is the hard part for me. But I do often think like, man, I should be filming this because, there's so
right,
many things that happen. And if you just had like the raw footage and you could just chop it all up, and I think
right.
it would help shine a light on how wonderful the experience really is. But I don't know, up to
Uh,
this point, I haven't done it.
it's it's really tough. I mean, to do the whole GoPro thing, it's far and few between because I'll get on that bandwagon and I'll be like, yeah, I'm gonna GoPro this one.
Yep.
And you're right, you get really awesome videos, really awesome footage of all the weird, wacky, wonderful, beautiful, personal things that happen. And then afterwards, I say to myself, oh, that was a lot of work. That was a lot of commitment. That was a lot of time. You don't think just pressing a button every now and then it makes a difference, but it really does. It takes a lot of effort, a lot of time. And then I won't do it for a while. And then I'll miss out on all those awesome things and then say, okay, you know what? Next time, let's GoPro this one. So it waxes and wanes as far as the commitment level to be able to take the video and the footage.
Yeah. Yeah. I did a
Mm-hmm.
trip to Europe with a buddy of mine, and he's like super diligent about filming. And
Right.
he even gave me this thing to put my iPhone so I could film on my bike, this
Yeah.
lamp on thing. And he chopped up all the footage, and he's
Mm-hmm.
just now going through and posting the stuff on Facebook. And
Right.
so cool. Like, I appreciate it so much that
Yeah.
he was doing it. But it was kind, during when you're writing, it's kind of annoying a lot of times too,
Yes.
because he's just
Uh-huh.
like, "Hang on, let me get my stick, and I got to get this, and I got to change out the SD card. Can you just sit tight for a minute?" It's just like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
"Can we just
Mm-hmm.
ride the mountain?" But
Exactly.
but then he's got the ultimate
Yes.
answer is like these great videos that we can now share with our families and relive the rest of our lives, whereas the other one stuck
Exactly.
in the old
And
memory.
especially a trip like that, like just the things you see once again, like that's just it's experiences that not many people will ever get to do or to be in. So you're right, not only to share with friends and family and be like, hey, this is what we did, but like you said, for the two of you to have those memories forever to look back on and say, wow, remember that time we did X, Y, and Z and have that. You're right. It's annoying at the time, but later on it's kind of cool to have.
Pretty cool. Yeah. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we should probably wrap it up. Before I let you go, though, let's talk about your association with Live, and how did that get
Yes.
started, and how long have you been a Live ambassador?
So I have been associated with Live for probably at least 10 years now.
Yeah.
I when I first started mountain biking, I was having a struggle finding, as with everybody, when you first start, you kind of work your way up from an introductory bike to something better. You go from hardtail to full suspension. And the local bike shop that I was shopping at and associated with started carrying Live bikes actually when it was Giant W, so Giant Women's, and then transitioned into Live. And the first Live bike I ever got on, it was really just like it was like Cinderella putting on the glass slipper. It was just I know it sounds corny, but it really was, Mike. It was just the perfect fit.
Yeah.
The whole for women, by women, how they develop their product. It fit perfectly. It was everything I had wanted, everything I had been looking for. And then fast forward 10 years later, I've just continued to, love their bikes and love their brand. And then along the way, I got introduced to the 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 ambassador, or I guess it wasn't the ambassador program at that point in time. I think they just started, they had the demo drivers who would go around the country and give clinics and seminars. And I got to know them quite well as just part of the brand and helping out. And the ambassador program came along and I signed up for that. And it's just been nonstop ever since then. It's a brand that I believe in, a brand that I truly, the ideology of getting more women on bikes,
Yeah.
making products for women that are truly developed for the way women ride. It's a winning situation for everybody. Mm-hmm.
Wow, yeah, that's awesome. I'm an account executive for Giant, and I
Yeah.
would feel like the coolest thing that I have is Live. And so,
Right.
trying to get it's funny how like some shops start off like, we don't really need women's specific road bikes, It's like
Uh-huh.
you can just buy a smaller size, and it's just like once you get them over that
Mm-hmm.
kind of bias, and then you show them like, listen, this is going to change your business. You're going to have
Right.
this business. You're not getting it right now. And that's why you
Mm-hmm.
see what you see. When you make this commitment, they're going to come, and you're going to,
Right.
the dynamic of
Mm-hmm.
your road bike sales or your gravel bike sale, whatever the category is that
Right.
we're talking about,
Mm-hmm.
is really going to change. And you're going to sell a lot more women bikes, and,
Right.
just opening
Mm-hmm.
up a new market for you.
Right.
And it's interesting, it's a male dominated industry.
Correct.
And so a lot of the bike shops, most of my bike shops don't have women that work there.
Mm-hmm.
There are a bunch that do, thankfully, but
Right.
it's just a male dominated industry. And so I think they just look at things a lot of times from a male perspective. And that's really changed a lot in the last 10 years. I think Live has a lot to do with it. Um,
Right.
but it is a big commitment. I know other companies specialized in Trek both had women's
Mm-hmm.
programs specifically at
Right.
one time, and
Mm-hmm.
they've now gone away from it. And there's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of confusing marketing language about whether it's necessary or not, but there's no doubt that it is necessary. The,
Correct.
it's a difficult business proposition because you have to, it makes your forecasting and your supply channel a lot more complicated. And there's a greater chance that maybe you end up with more bikes that you have to discount because you missed the forecast a little bit,
Right.
in one way or another. And so I understand why these other companies have gone away with it. But it's unfortunate that they had to market it also. It's like,
Right.
there's no question that a dedicated women's bike is better for women. That
Right.
makes a lot of sense. Um,
And yes, not only the bike itself, you're right, it's not just the pink it and shrink it ideology, it's the
yep.
let's make something that fits specifically the way power output is generated, the way weight is distributed, but also just the fact that Live has so many supportive outlets for women. We were talking about the Lindsay's All Ride clinics and Live ambassadors. I mean, I teach a lot of clinics through Saucon Valley Bikes, through the shop that I'm associated with. And there is nothing more wonderful and inspiring than having women say, well, I don't like to go to the clinics that have guys at them because I feel so intimidated around women. I feel less pressure. They come to a clinic, they learn something, and they say, wow, you've just inspired me and given me the skills and the knowledge to go out and ride further or faster or harder or try something different. So I think that support that Live helps offer is just a big thing too, that if you're only doing male dominated brands or things in your shop, you're missing out on that.
Definitely. Definitely. All right. Well, listen, we should probably wrap it up on that note. But
Mhm.
Jessica, it was really a pleasure having you on the podcast, and I really appreciate all of your insights that you gave me prior to Unbound, and
Certainly.
a lot
Uh-huh.
of that.
Well, and thanks. I have to admit, Mike, you were definitely way more organized than I I shall say. You were all by the numbers, and I was like, I don't know. I just stop at the gas station and eat a bag of potato chips. That's how I get through them. So thanks for putting up with my very lackadaisical attitude for it. But
I like,
nice work on your ride.
thank
Uh-huh.
you. I really appreciated it. And I did I mean, I had three Cokes and I
Mm-hmm.
don't drink sodas.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I had three Cokes on the ride. It was probably been, I mean, it might have been 10 years since I've had a soda,
Right.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well,
But,
good. You hit your 10-year max then. Great.
yeah. But they definitely fueled me well.
Right.
Yeah,
Hmm.
there was something to it. Pizza and Coke.
There you
Mid-ride.
go. Gets you through. Hmm.
Yeah. All
Good.
right. Well, okay. So if anybody would like to follow along before we let you out of here, are you on, I know you have a YouTube channel and you do a blog.
Correct.
Do you
Hmm.
want to share that info?
Yes. So the YouTube channel is it's Nankman Adventures in Cycling, which is both the YouTube channel and the blog. So the blog post is typically anything and everything, a lot of races, a lot of life experiences. YouTube channel is primarily races. And then Instagram also is JJC Nunkman. So it's kind of a combo between my husband and I that have our Instagram. And then Saucon Valley Bikes, also the bike shop that I'm with. Check out their social media aspects. Also, if you're in the area, come by for some events, come by for some clinics. Be great to see everybody out there.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks again. And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully our paths will cross. Maybe we'll meet
Yeah,
at some point. But
exactly.
until then, just keep on pedaling.
You too, Mike. All right. Thanks for having me today.
Thanks, everyone. If you like what we're doing here at Cycle Jerks Podcast and you would like to support us, please check out our website at cyclejerkspodcast.buzzsprout.com. Hit the subscribe button. We shout out all subscribers, so get on it. Another way you can support the podcast would be by giving us a 5-star review on whatever streaming platform that you're listening on. We appreciate you. Thanks so much.
Cycle Jerks.
Hey, get out of the road, dummy.
Cycle Jerks Podcast.